Citizens, either the business people who are being extorted, the folks running the gambling parlors, and even victims, just citizens who were innocent bystanders who were affected and all. People were just terrorized.
The Golden Dragon Massacre was a gang-related shooting attack that took place on September 4, 1977, inside the Golden Dragon restaurant at 822 Washington Street in Chinatown, San Francisco, California. The incident was motivated by a long-standing feud between two rival Chinatown gangs, the Joe Boys, Chung Ching Yi, and Wah Ching.
Because that's when the Wah Ching was supposed to go and collect the final payoff from the dealers. The Joe Boys and the Wah Ching both were in Chinatown. It was a little after 8 p.m. and they faced each other right in front of the projects, and there was a shootout. We had two members who were shot, one who was killed, I call Tiger. On the other side, there was a boy who was shot as well.
Wah Ching in Chinatown and the Joe Boys in the Richmond and Sunset districts, and had been rivals since the Joe Boys splintered off from the Wah Ching in the late 1960s.
Police said, we have to do more. So what they did was they formed the gang task force. Again, this was in 1977, and even to this day, the gang task force is still an active part division of the San Francisco Police. It was the Sunday of Labor Day in 1977 where the members of the Joe Boys went to the Golden Dragon restaurant for their revenge.
The shooting at the Golden Dragon was an attempted assassination of Wah Ching leaders and was a direct retaliation for the shootout with the Wah Ching in Chinatown's Ping Yuan, Peace Garden, housing project. Huey's murder, in turn, was seen as a reprisal for the earlier death of Kin Chen Louis, a 20-year-old member of the Wah Ching who had been shot a dozen times on May 31st while attempting to escape in his car.
In San Francisco's Chinatown, things have been tense all summer long. Now the situation is about to boil over at local landmark, the Golden Dragon restaurant.
The leader of the Wah Chings, which was Michael Louis, and the leader of the Hop Sing Boys was Frankie Yi. They were both at separate tables. Each table had their gang members. Tim, the leader of our group, sent 2 cars to the Golden Dragon. They knew that, in all likelihood, the Wah Chings and the Hop Sings would be there because that was actually their regulars. The 2 cars pulled up in front of the restaurant. They got out, 3 gunmen, and as they were entering, one of the gunmen stopped for a second just to look in. Right when he looked in, one of the gang members was looking out and saw someone looking in with a rifle. And so in Cantonese, he screamed, "Gun." They immediately hit the ground and knew to take cover. The 3 gunmen went in and started blasting away.
Ng had instructed Tam to fire a shot in the ceiling first so that when the people panic and get down on the floor, we will decide who to shoot.
Inside, the members of 2 rival gangs, the Wah Ching and the Hop Sing, are having a late meal at opposite ends of the restaurant, when members of a 3rd gang, the Joe Boys, show up to get even for the Wah Ching's killing.
The shooting began at close to 2 a.m.
Instead, without warning, the 3 randomly opened fire on the patrons inside the crowded restaurant, killing 5 people, including 2 tourists, and
The
wounding
first gunman
11
was armed
others,
with a
none of whom were
45
gang
caliber
members.
semi-automatic rifle. The second gunman was armed with a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun. And the 3rd gunman was armed with a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun as well as a revolver.
And I guess I must have moved just at the right time, and the lady in back of me was shot in the mouth.
They just blasted away, and it was nonstop for about a minute. After the gunfire stopped, they turned and ran out.
Robert Wu, the informant who collected the $100,000 reward, was killed during a shootout with police while robbing a jewelry shop in Los Angeles on December 19, 1984.
Went up to $100,000, which was the highest it's ever been and allowed by law.
Michael Louis pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter and possession of a deadly weapon after his arrest, receiving a sentence of 15 years imprisonment in January 1978.